We began the Maamar Sos Tasis. Yeah, Sos Tasis for Sagal Hakara. We had the first two classes last Monday and Thursday, so we'll continue. So please go to Likkutei Torah Parshas Tazria. It's page 39. On top it says Tazria. Page 39, on top it says Tazria. In the Hebrew it's Chaf, column 2. Daf Chaf, Amud Bais, meaning Chaf, column 2. There's 4 columns in every daf, in every page. So there's Amud Aleph, Amud Bais, Amud Gimel, Amud Dalet. Column 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Where are we up to? Nafshi v'sicha b'layla. Line starts Shal Choshech. Ahava Shal Choshech. The line starts Choshech. It's probably like 15, 20 lines from the bottom. The line starts Shal Choshech. Ahava Shal Choshech v'zeu ha'pirush. You see? Chaf, column 2. Today's class is dedicated anonymously in honor of all those who devote themselves to learning Torah. May their study illuminate the world. Wow, what a beautiful dedication. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Anonymous or Mrs. Anonymous. I don't know, but one of them. Thank you very much. Okay, I also want to dedicate the class to my cousin, my mother's first cousin, whose funeral was yesterday, Rabbi Shalom Lipsker, Rabbi Shalom Dov Ber Lipsker, the Rav of the Shul in Bell Harbor, the founder and leader of the famous Shul in Bell Harbor in Florida. Rav Shalom Dov Ber ben Reb Eliyahu Akiva Lipsker, Zechrena Levracha, who was also extremely into learning Chassidus and teaching Chassidus, and very remarkable person. Okay, so everybody remembers the shiur from Thursday? The 2 types of love, the Gan Eden and the Atzmos, yeah? The Alter Rebbe said that there's 2 forms of Ava, there's 2 forms of love. One, he defines the deeper one, what it says in Tehillim, Mili b'shamayim v'imcha lechafatzti ba'aretz. Who do I have in heaven? And with you I desire nothing on earth. And he explains the deeper meaning of that is v'imcha, even that which is with you, I do not desire. What is this with that which is with you? So for this he brings the pasuk of Ki imcha mekar Chaim ba'ercha nir. These are both psukim in Tehillim. One is Ayin Daled, the other one I think is in the Lameds. Ki imcha mekar Chaim ba'ercha nir Lamed Zayin, I think. With you is the source of life. That the source of life is with you. It's the source of life. As he says, it's the whole life of Olam Haba and the divine bliss that exists in the higher reality, and that's v'imcha, it's with you. Because it's the experience of neshamas and Gan Eden who experience tainug, bliss of Hashem, by comprehending the divine reality and being in that flow of complete absorption in that light. And that's why it's so tainug, it's so blissful, it's so delightful, in a way that's even incomprehensible to someone who never experienced it. The Rambam says that describing the bliss of Gan Eden, of Olam Haba, to a person here is like describing to a blind human being who was born blind the difference of colors. It's not that they don't understand because it's just too deep or they have to grow. It's a completely different, it's the concept they don't understand. That's how remote it is. All the pleasures in the world, legabe that, it's like, tell them, this red, blue, green, the concept of color, a person unfortunately never saw. They don't even relate to the very foundations of that.
They don't even know what they're not seeing.
Right. Language assumes some form of knowledge, even if it's negative language, right? Even if, you'll never imagine what that is. You'll never imagine what that is telling you what it is. It's not telling you exactly what it is, but it's also descriptive. There's knowing that you don't know, and then there's not knowing that you don't know. That's the real ignorance. The ignorance of knowing that you don't know is not so ignorant. But you don't know what you don't know. And that's deeper than we imagine. Yeah, it's like it's so beyond that even the language doesn't relate to the person. There's no language, so that's what the Rambam is trying to describe. It's not somebody who forgot or they have a dull understanding of it. The very experience is not relatable. I mean, that's how profound Tainug Eliki is relative to other pleasures, because it's the source of all bliss. So it's Ein Lamayla Himena. So this is the highest, l'chayra, the deepest space. Nonetheless, he says this is imcha. This is with you. With you means, it's as he puts it, davar hatafel lebatel atzlecha. It's subservient to you, it's not you, because no thought can grasp you. Even the highest thought, even in Gan Eden and Elam Haba. As he put it, this is all basking in the ray of the Shechina, the Ziva Shechina, which is like a ray. And that's why he says, Ve'imcha loy chafatzta, even that which is imcha, which is with you, I do not desire. What do I want? What I want is to be libatal v'likolel, to be nullified and subsumed in you yourself. Leishtave, quotes desire, leishtave begufa demalka. To be absorbed, lehishtaev, to be absorbed, to be drawn in, begufa demalka, into the body, into the essence of reality, which is beyond the ray. And this is extremely, extremely powerful, because what this means is, in that space, I can't call it really a space, but in that space, that reality, you can't say yoshvin v'nenen, they sit and bask, or they sit and enjoy. When it comes to the ziv, the ray, it's somewhat filtered, even though it's grand and it's the frequency of infinity, and that's the tainug eliki. But it's a tainug, it's a bliss that you could say they sit and enjoy, which means that there is an experience of being in flow, of being a channel for this, of absorbing it, of comprehending it. Like when you talk about the ray of the sun illuminating you, illuminating your home, illuminating your body, giving you heat, giving you energy, giving you growth, giving you oxygen, giving you sunlight. It's communicated in a way that is relatable, that's palpable, and therefore can be absorbed. And in that itself, there could be so many different levels, right? Gan Eden is not just one spectrum. There's more and more and more and more, and deeper and deeper and deeper. But this is all yoshvin v'nenin. The Gemara says in Brachas, yoshvin v'nenin miziv hashchina. Here, it's like the neir, the flame is absorbed in the torch. What he calls bitul b'metzias. Yeah. It's like the ray in the solar core. So there's no experience of it anymore, because it's complete bitul. Yeah, exactly, you're it. Yeah. Now the truth is, as we explained, for this the person needs to understand their own greatness, right? Not to create a safety net, a fake safety net. Like I gave you the metaphor. Person is in prison for many years. They come out of prison, but they still make sure that they have a locker in prison. They want that safety. They want that safety net. They're not ready completely to embrace freedom. So over there we laugh, you're out, you don't have to be in prison anymore. But he's so captured by that space that a part of him stays there, just in case. The teacher told Rothschild, I won't quit my teaching job, so I'll have more money than you. So spiritually speaking, it's recognizing the true ability, like I said at the end, is seeing, there's experiencing God, and then there's experiencing how God experiences you. Experiencing how Hashem experiences you, and that's also the potential of the soul. To be able to experience yourself the way Hashem experiences you, it's a different magnitude of greatness. On one hand, it's complete bitul. There's no I. But why? Because you're mamish one. You're it. You're not watching the story. You're not experiencing the story. You are the story. And that's complete bitul. Complete bitul. Yeah. Yeah. So it's similar to what we say in the other Maamarim. It comes from Tanya that is yesh mi she'oyev. We learned in the Maamar also on the Maamar of Mitzayra, last Shabbos, the Maamar of Mitzayra. So he speaks about Ahava and a bitul that's higher than Ahava. Ahava, he says, is yesh mi she'oyev. There's someone who loves. That's the definition. I love. Now here we're talking about an I of Gan Eden. An I that is completely saturated with the divine bliss. But it's yesh mi she'oyev. That's the definition of Ahava. So he calls that here Ava Zuta, a smaller form of love. Ava Rabba is the Ava of Imcha Lo Chafatzti, the ability for the person to recognize that craving, that yearning, not to be, but to be not. Not in order to be not. That's not what we're talking about. I should be not. That's not the excitement here. The excitement is the oneness, the complete oneness with the ultimate reality. Yeah. Yeah. And he says, and the reason for this is because the whole Olam Haba is a nakuda. It says, biyud nivra Olam Haba. So the whole Olam Haba is a yud. What does it mean it's a yud? The whole Olam Haba is it's a nakuda. In other words, the contraction of the Ein Sof, even in Olam Haba, you could describe it all as just a little point. Now that little point is the source of life. That little nekuda, that seminal point, is the source of all life. Mekar Chaim, imcha mekar Chaim. That's the flow of life. That's like the engine. That's the back end program. That's the mucker, the source of the energy. And it says that it's even worthy to go through all the Yisurim of Gehenna, in order to come to this Olam Haba. That's how powerful it is, because it's worth it to remove all the blockages, as difficult as it is to experience it. Nonetheless, it's imcha, it's ein aroich. You can't compare it l'gabe the Ein Sof itself. Not like 1 relative to 1 billion, but numbers relative to infinity. And therefore, the person says and feels, I don't want to make the tafel on Iyar b'shvil legarmei. Just for my purposes, I'm not going to turn the tafel into an Iyar. I'm not going to make Olam Haba the Iyar. When I'm thinking about me, even the highest form of me, the highest version of me, then I want the tafel. I want the subservient. I don't want the Iyar. Because in the Iyar, there's no me. There's no me to experience it. But he surrenders everything in order not to let go of the ultimate emes, the real emes. Was meinst du? Yeah. And that's the deeper meaning, he says, of Pshat. It says, don't serve Hashem al manas lekabel pras in Pirkei Avos. So literally it means, Don't do the avodah al manas l'kabel pras to get a prize, meaning for schar, for reward, which is itself a very big idea. You could do everything just to get a reward. I'm serving, I'm doing good things because I want a schar, I want a reward. And especially such a reward, it's a grand reward. So it's really much deeper. Al-manas l'kabel pras doesn't only mean to get a reward. It means to get a pras of elikus. You're looking for dveikus. It's not I want a reward, I want money, or I want kavod, or even I want spiritual reward. I want satisfaction. I want happiness. I want celebrity status in Olam Haba. So this is already a much higher reward. Not schar, I just want your money, I want your health, I want your blessings, I want your kavod. There's even a schar ruchni, spiritual schar, which you understand is eternal and therefore worth it. It's not just a small schar. But here he says it's much deeper. Pras is you're actually looking for complete vekas. You're looking for bitul, but you want the pras. You want the prusa, you want the piece. You want to take off a piece from the whole so that you should be able to digest it. Pras, from the word prusa. That's a taich like, I want to say straight from Gan Eden, but it's straight from Atzmos, and it's from Gan Eden. Gan Eden doesn't call Gan Eden a pras. Gan Eden calls Gan Eden Gan Eden. Pras Melashon Prusa. Prois l'rav lachmecha. Prois, it says in Yeshaya, the Haftarah of Yom Kippur. Prois l'rav lachmecha, he teaches. Which means break bread with a poor man. Take your bread and break off a piece to give to the hungry man. Prois. In Pesach, in Shulchan Aruch, you have the Prusa, right? The Shleima and the Prusa. The whole matzah, and when you do yachatz and you break the matzah, so you have the Prusa, which is the broken piece. So pras means kavayachal, a fragment of God. Now, a fragment of God is nicht gefährlich. It's nicht wegzumachen. It's just a kleine piece of matzah that somebody could steal from the couch and then ask you for a prize, for a pras. This is the whole Olam Haba. This is the whole Makar Chaim. Is this prusa? But by definition, it's a prusa because it's the fragment of it, the sparks that allow it to be absorbed, to be integrated, to be digested. Pun intended. Can't eat the whole matzah in one shot. You need to break off pieces. It's like baby food. Yeah, you break off a fragment, and that's what you give. Haloi price l'rav. So al-manas l'kabel pras means it's a gewaldike inyan. I'm looking for dveikus. I'm looking for Olam Haba in its purity. I'm not looking for ego. That's not what Olam Haba is. It's tainu gelaki. It's the tainu that comes from Elikus. This is the chiddush that he doesn't want the prusa. He doesn't want the ziv. He wants lishtava begufa de malka, bitul and the atzmi saying stuff, which over there the prusa becomes like a droplet of water absorbed in the entire Atlantic Ocean. It's there. It's not that it's not there. The ray is in the core as well. The prusa is in the whole as well. It's not like the whole doesn't have the prusa. But it's keloi mamish chashivi. It doesn't have any separate identity and reality and visage and form. It's keloi mamish chashivi. What does it mean keloi mamish chashivi? Paying attention to it would be the most disgraceful thing for it. Why do you even notice something outside of infinity? That's why this experience of surrender is the deepest form of greatness. We keep on saying how it's bitul, bitul, bitul. What does that really mean? Bitul, bitul, bitul means that there's nothing separate. Right. This drop of water, when it goes into the kionis, it's not like nebach. This is the ocean. What makes the ocean? Makes the ocean is the water. This is actually the ocean. So when you say kiloi mamish chashivi, it's just very important to understand this, because this is a term that's used always in the Maamarim. That kula kamei kiloi mamish chashivi. It's a pasuk in Daniel, it's brought in Zoya, but by the Alter Rebbe, it's a very, very common phrase. Kula kamei kiloi. So here he uses it again, that this prusa is kiloi mamish chashivi, kitipa bo kiyonis. That over there in Atzmos, it's kiloi mamish chashivi. What means kiloi? Say loi. No, not loi, kiloi. Because it's there. It's not like Atzmos doesn't have, it has everything that everything else has. Kiloi mamish chashivi means don't point arrows and extract it and notice it as a separate reality, which is actually taking it away and compromising its reality, making it much smaller than what it really is, which is nothing outside of Ein Od Milvad, they have Atzmos of the essence of Ein Sof.
Well, why are we so afraid to be outside of Ein Sof? So, if you can be part of it, you can touch your identity, which is spiritual identity, even by being separate. It's nothing wrong with it. It's just being.
I don't think anybody is afraid of being outside of Ein Sof.
No, but we just.
People are trying to do that their whole life. I think the deepest fear is to be in Ein Sof. Nobody is afraid of being outside of Ein Sof.
No, but the lotion we use is like you are it. You are it by just being aligned completely with it.
Yeah.
So why are we afraid to be a separate identity? It's good. Rabbi, why is a separate identity? It's not me. And I appreciate that identity as much as I appreciate myself. So why are we afraid to be completely aligned and say, oh, we have to be part of that beautiful ocean? We are separate, but we are totally aligned. What's wrong with full alignment?
That's what it means, totally aligned, yeah. That's what totally aligned means.
You are separate. Because, this whole separateness is a whole game of creation.
Right.
Without that, without assuming that that's not going to be part of reality. Our reality, we are separate. So what's wrong with it?
Right, to be one with your separateness, that's...
To be one with the separateness is a great thing.
Huh? Yeah, what? Yeah.
Bitul doesn't mean that you don't exist. You're part of the oceanus. You do exist. And in a way, existence is a great thing.
Exist in the ultimate existence.
Right.
Even in the oil of Miamis, I think it's you're going to be recognized as you, not me.
Oh, yeah.
Is Moshe Rabbeinu there part of Okeanos? Nobody can see that droplet. Moshe Rabbeinu is our teacher. Is going to be always our teacher there. Am I totally off?
No.
I want to be off. There's no there. I mean here. Sorry.
In the ultimate surrender, Metzius is also not a contradiction. Right? It's not like, that's the whole idea. In other words, the tension is from the sense of disconnection. That's where the tension is. And and any element of disconnection is going to fight that. It's going to fight it. It's like, don't surrender. In fact, for the klipa, for the external forces, that's a form of death. It's the biggest form of death. It's like my whole existence is to keep you detached, to create a substitute reality. In the ultimate surrender, Yeah, in the ultimate surrender, then there's nothing that's not part of that.
But you see, even Elisha ben Abuya, the Acharei, did the same mistake. He saw Malach Matat, he thought it's Hashem. Because he saw like everything is bitul.
Right.
It's not. Malach Matat is Malach Matat. And everybody's separate. What's wrong with being separate? Is it different? Because we can be confused to the point that like if I'm not, if you're part of Okeanos or whatever it is, you cannot, there's no distinguish between this and this. So why don't we just say it's complete alignment or something? I'm confused with this because like, is it like you are not there to the point that you're mamish not, or you there but in totally aligned? That's what I'm confused about. I don't know how to get to that state of.
That's a good
not
question.
Being you. I mean, just come on.
It's not
I
not
can't
being
even
you.
find myself, but
It's not being you. It's actually being you.
right.
This is called being you.
Right.
It's being you in the way God experiences you. It's the only being you. Everything else is not you. Yeah, that's what being you means. Being you means that it's being. It's not you. It's not even the word being. Even the word being is inadequate. That's what I'm saying. The very language. That is what being you is. Everything else is not being you. It's an attempt on being you. Identity is trying to wrestle out its existence from infinity and like, I also exist. There's you, but there's also me. And that's what the you becomes. So there's a pathetic form of identity. There's a sophisticated form of identity. There's an identity we develop after a lot of years of godless, I become a chverepes. Then there's the identity in Olam Haba, which is like, okay, that's not fake news anymore. That's not just, on WhatsApp or Facebook. That's not external. That's identity of the highest form and fashion. Huh? And nonetheless, that's not the real you. That's why this bitul must come from such a recognition of greatness, not greatness from a place of identity, greatness from the place of God's greatness, not greatness like I'm much bigger than anybody knows I am. I have bitul too. You don't even know how humble I am. They tell the old Maisa about the shul, right? It was Yom Kippur, and the leaders of the shul got up and they said, God, mi ani, omani, I'm nothing. So there was a Schneur in the back. So he says, God, I'm nothing. So the rabbi says, give a cook, oicha garnished. Oicha garnished, he's also nothing. You gotta be, to be nothing, you have to, oicha garnished. Oich mira garnished. So, but that's the you I want to hold on to, and it's not. We're not talking about a small thing here. When he's not negating a pathetic, foolish, false pretense, just living in klipa and illusions. He's talking here of prusa is a lakus, b'yud nivra elam haba. But to be boicher the ikir and not the tafel, the v'im chaloi chafatzti, that is the only real you. It's the you the way Hashem experiences the you. Can I experience me the way God experiences me? Sit with that for a little bit. What does that look like? I try to experience me the way I experience me. And that includes also experiencing God. It's me experiencing God, which is the ultimate experience of me. Because what am I? I'm a channel for God's light. What am I? There's no me outside. That's what Olam Haba understands. That's what Olam Haba experiences. That's how Olam Haba thinks. And then there's experiencing me the way God experiences me. Not experiencing me as experiencing God, which is a small version of me, but experiencing me the way God experiences me, which is Kula kamei kaloi chashiv, like the tip of beyamu kiyanis v'im chaloi chafatzti.
The way God experiences you is Rabbi Waiwai. That's how he experiences you. I mean, in real life, it's nothing else but his experience as Rabbi Waiwai. Isn't it true? The same thing is experiencing me as Avram Steiger. So in a way, we live his experience. It's his experience by name, with the name Avram.
Right. That's true. But we're talking about the full alignment with that. The full alignment with that is a space where there's no metzias that's separate. So you're saying, but you're supposed to live. Of course you're supposed to live. That's not a contradiction to this. There's nothing that's a contradiction to this. It's again, the tipa is in the yam. It's not separate from the yam. It's not extracted from the yam. And it's not non-existent in the yam. But its complete metzias is nothing outside of the gufa de malka, of the Ein Sof. Nothing outside of it. Even what you're calling separateness, which means its existence, the tipa, whatever the tipa looks like, the way God experiences me is not me in some higher world. It's me in this world. It's right here, right now. In fact, if you say to have this, it undermines any type of reality where a person is, then it's not this Inyan. Right? Then it's a form of separateness. This is every nekuda, and the way it is right now. The way it is right now, where the person is right now, there is that self, the way it's completely one, without any separateness, and that's complete bitul. But there's a form of Mesiras Nefesh there, because it's surrendering even the bliss of any form of separateness, even in the form of yesh mishayev, of experiencing it, which is called avazuta. I'm ready to surrender that. Now you'll say, what do you mean? I'm ready to surrender it, so it's a contradiction. You're talking here about an ava with his bitul b'metzias, kalei mamash chashiv, but that's the chiddush. That's the chiddush, that the ava of a soul, that this is who you really are. The very fact that Alter Rebbe is talking about this to people, like, what do you want? You want I should feel this, so I am going to feel it. So what do you mean? So I am here. Who's teaching this Maamar? Even you could say, I don't understand. If you believe what you're saying, why are you saying the Maamar? He's saying a Maamar. So there's a person with a mouth, Takad Alter Rebbe with Alter Rebbe's mouth, but saying a Maamar, and we're sitting here and learning over the Maamar. So it's like almost you're making litzanis, like you're making a joke. You want to talk about people's minds and mouths, talking about good things, I have no problem. Being a channel for good things, I have no problem. But here you're saying no. You're saying that what? That's your real question. We're just like, it's all fiction, it's just like cute words. Now we'll have fancier words, they're better words, like he came up with a new word, like, oh, even pras is nothing. Avazut is just avazut, we're talking about avarabba, v'imcha lechafatzti. And then you're sitting and saying this Maamar. So your very presence is contradicting this. If this is true, so who's saying the Maamar? Why are you even saying a Maamar? You are saying a Maamar and trying to teach people, you're not here, they're not here, garbage this stuff. Oh. No.
The real God is do through you.
Atazai.
We can see Hashem creating us in this very moment. That's kind of like...
So that's the whole word. In other words, you read it as bitul b'metzias. Okay, so there's no yoshvin benanin. So why are you sitting and saying a Maamar if there's no yoshvin benanin? So you're talking about things that are just fictional ideas that are somewhere in some transcendental, non-existent reality that you don't relate to. You're schlepping everybody there. Thank you. Now what do you want me to do with that? This is a very important question we're asking. I wanted to say this is a very important question I'm asking, but that's like gonna defeat the purpose. Huh?
Actually, it's a good question you just asked, because the way God experiences you and the way you experience you is two different things. When you give up you experience you, then you get to God.
Atazai. Excellent. When you give up your experience of you, you can get the God experience of you. And then, of course, you should sit and say the Maamar. What's the question? That's the whole purpose of creation. The whole purpose of creation is that you should sit and learn the Maamar and channel it. That's the whole purpose. When I give up how I experience myself, I can come to a place how God experiences me. And how God experiences me is as a channel for this truth. This is not an invitation for people, to take a weapon, kill themselves, and say, I'm bitul. But what's the best bitul? Or psychologically, why don't we denigrate ourselves on everybody, turn them into absolute shmatas and doormats, step on them, and then I'm a chaya. There's no ego. Yeah, you have people like that. But that's the exact opposite of this. That's actually undermining this very truth, because that's what it's really saying is that you're the ultimate contradiction, and therefore I have to destroy you. Your life is a contradiction. Your personality is a contradiction. Your heart is a contradiction. Your creativity is the worst contradiction. So let's destroy you and snuff the life out of you and take your neshama away. And then when you'll be a lifeless corpse, a dead man walking, finally we'll have bitul. Baruch Hashem. That's warped. It's dysfunctional. It's warped. It's the opposite of everything. And you see what it does to a person. It doesn't create avodas Hashem with simcha. It's like a twisted pretzel who's just a crushed, lifeless person walking around. We hope that's not what Gan Eden looks like. There's not even an experience of self in terms of experiencing God. On the contrary, it's just an internal dissonance and torture and guilt and negativity and anxiety. It's just anxiety. Anxiety is not bitul. Anxiety is the antithesis of bitul. This is not to judge a person that has anxiety. I also have anxiety. But we have to understand anxiety is not bitul. Anxiety is the opposite of bitul. Bitul means I'm in flow. Bitul is a very, very serene reality. When it's not serene, it's not bitul. Bitul means alignment. You know, when you look at the ocean, when that wave goes back into the ocean, there's a calmness over there. It's flowing. It's just flowing. Yeah. It's extremely regulated, like the fish in the water, alma discourse. It's extremely regulated. Because what is bitul? There's no anxiety. Bitul is I could completely surrender to the source and just be in that flow. It's a very, very profound state of existence. It's really the only real state of existence. It's being part of the ocean. When there's anxiety, it actually means that there's a crazy tension here. There's I think I have to be somebody else, and therefore I'm having so much anxiety. That's the opposite of bitul. In bitul, I don't think I have to be somebody else. I can appreciate exactly what is right now. Anxiety is I have to be somebody else, or why am I not somebody else? Or it's focusing on the fact that there's a dissonance, that there's something broken in you, that there's something detached about you. Right? All anxiety, whatever it is, sometimes very, very severe forms. This is not to minimize people's experience of anxiety and now tell them they don't have bitul, so they should have more anxiety. That's the opposite of my point. My point is that we have to understand that anxiety is a debilitating reality, that bitul is actually trying to help us heal. You understand what I'm saying? Because it looks like, anxiety, the more self-destruction, the more chaos internal, the more bitul is the opposite. It's Maamar the opposite. It's letting go of that. Now, bitul is not an easy task because we have anxiety, because there's parts of us that, yes, will want to create this feeling of disappointment. You're a disappointment. You're a frustration to God. You're a frustration to your family. You're just a piece of garbage. You're inadequate. You're incapable. You're incompetent. You're worthless. You don't have anxiety maybe, but some people have anxiety. There's different forms. There's social anxiety. There's this internal anxiety. This incessant anxiety that doesn't let go. But it's always a message of detachment. Energetically, what does bitul really mean? Energetically, bitul really means that God is flowing through you right now. Could you just accept that with a lot of peace? Now, it's not words. I always say this is not words. You could say this to yourself 1,000 times, and maybe it's a good thing to say it 1,000 times, but it's not what we're talking about. It's an energetic experience that is embodied. You feel it in your body. The words could be an expression of that, but it's just an energetic experience. It's all internal. It's very, very internal, and there's no mistaking it. Full das. It's a full das. There's a very deep surrender in it also. There's no form of arrogance here. It's not like, I'm in flow, you idiot. I'm in flow, all you losers. I'm in flow, shh. Because that itself is the greatest form of anxiety. I'm comparing myself to others. I'm superior, I'm not superior. It's a wow, oh my God. In that space, you're completely in serenity because I'm not comparing myself. Ich vergin allemen. If you're taking something away from me or I'm taking something away from you, it means I don't think God is working through me. If he would, why am I taking something away from you? It's fine. Like the ray of the sun is not busy fighting with another ray. Like, you idiot, don't go to that house. Come to my house. It's fine. They're fine. They know that the sun has enough light. So in this state of bitul, I'm not looking at you and I'm not trying to take away from you. I'm not comparing myself. I'm not better. I'm not worse. It's not better and worse. So it's a very, very internal space, and you can't fake it. You could fake it for other people for like 60 seconds, maybe 3 minutes. For your wife, you could never fake it, but for other depends, I should say. But for other people, maybe you could fake it for a few minutes or for a few hours, maybe for a few days. But internally, you can't fake it even for a moment. It's very physiological. The nervous system is in a completely different space. It's regulated. It's a regulated nervous system. And the way people, when you have a conversation with you, even if somebody's criticizing you, when you're in a place of bitul, you're going to hear it differently. If God is working through you, and that's really my experience, so when you criticize me, you know what I'm hearing? I'm hearing the part of me that doesn't really realize that God is working through me has to be put to sleep. Wow, thank you. That's amazing what you just said. You heard how this is how you internalize criticism. Wow. When somebody's criticizing me, I'm talking about a genuine, and I'm not talking about somebody who's just here to get me. We're talking about someone communicating and sharing maybe something painful I did or a mistake I made. True criticism, that's coming from a place not of revenge or vengeance or just negativity, but somebody's sharing their truth. What I'm hearing is, in that space is, wow, there's a part of me that is not completely aligned, that is not completely channeling God's working through me, right? And that's still playing itself out in my life. And that's what this person is being hurt by. And I'm like, oh, wow, thank you. That's amazing. Now I know that this part really got to go to sleep or has to be neutralized or I have to do some work with it because it's really disturbing things. So that's from a place of bitul. It's like you have this beautiful, beautiful home, mamish beautiful, right? And then somebody comes in, this interior designer, and they're like, that thing sticking out of the wall, like really it's a hazard and it's very unesthetical. And you're like, thank you. That will cost you $10,000. Why are you paying $10,000 to somebody criticizing your home? The answer is they're not criticizing your home. They're trying to beautify your home. So from a place of bitul, the criticism is, wow, you're trying to help me get rid of or neutralizing the part that's not experiencing myself as God's flow. Wow, that's amazing. Thank you. Why don't I take criticism like that? Because the part of me that's hearing the criticism doesn't really believe that God is working through me. So when you're criticizing me, you're actually trying to hurt me and kill me, and I'm going to kill you back. That's it. Haba lahargach, hashkem lahargai. And if I don't know how to use a gun, I'll use my words. That's how Jews kill each other. You want to defeat Jews, you defeat them with language, right? That was the brilliance of the Arabs with Israel. They didn't defeat Israel on the battlefield. They defeated them through language, morality. They made the Jews believe that they're illegal colonizers, occupiers, immoral thieves, and they won that way. When Jews feel like thieves, they're destroyed. This was the brilliance of the Arabs. They understood that that's how you defeat the Jewish people. You defeat the Jewish people through guilt. Through guilt. Other nations, you have to defeat them on the battlefield. With Jews, it's a different type of victory. You convince Jews that they're occupiers, that they're not liberal, that they're not compassionate, they're dead. This is true what I'm telling you. This is the tragedy of Jews who don't understand themselves. When you convince Jews that they're not compassionate, you won. You don't need anything else. They'll put down all their weapons like Tatalach. That's what all of the Israeli prime ministers did. They gave away all their territory. Take whatever you want just to call me compassionate. So now you see how compassionate the Jewish people are being called by the Arabs and around the world. You understand? But this is what's called twisted identity. That's not bitul. That's shrama beyond shrama beyond shrama. That's where you become a twisted pretzel, and now you're going to tell me that I'm immoral because I'm trying to breathe. You're choking me and I'm taking off your hands and I'm immoral. Like, you should allow yourself to be choked to death. You should go into the gas chambers with joy. Of course they should take gas.
Let me help you choke me.
Yeah, let me help you even. I'll give you a few guns so you could kill me. Like these are such important concepts, because when people misunderstand what compassion is, what bitul is, it can create national suicide, just like it can create personal suicide. But when I'm taking things personal, let's now go back. When I'm taking it personal, who's taking it personal? It's the self that doesn't experience itself in the flow of God. So now when you're criticizing me, what are you doing? You're actually killing me. You're insulting me. You're denigrating me. And if I invested so many years in building up this beautiful identity called Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson, and you're suddenly taking a needle and rupturing that balloon, of course I'm going to kill you. I'll just do it in a sophisticated way. Through words. I'll give a shiur about you and send out a WhatsApp. I don't know, whatever. You get my point? This is all energetic. It's very, very deep. It's like you can hear when somebody criticizes you, when you're in a place of bitul. When you're in a place of bitul, you're regulated. You can actually listen to them, because there's a core that was not destroyed. It was not even compromised. It's actually you're being helped. But when I'm not in that space, which is also very human, not to be in that space, because bitul is an avodah. Even the lowest levels of bitul, which is called hiraylam haba, which is not such a low level, right? But I'm not there. I'm in the place of ego, which is not what ilam haba is. Ego is easing God out. Ego is not a piece of God. Ego means there's no God. I'm a substitute for God. So now all I have is this identity that you're knocking down when you're criticizing me. Because you're criticizing me. Of course I take it personal. You're punching me in my nose. I shouldn't take it personal. Don't take it personal. I'm just punching you in your nose, breaking a couple of ribs, Don't take it personal. It's not personal. It's just your nose and your stomach. Yeah, well, my nose is pretty personal. My stomach is personal. My ribs are personal. My cheeks are personal. My head is personal. Yeah, I take these things personal. Somebody kicks you in your gut. Yeah, your gut is personal. Sorry, don't take it personal. Insults are worse than that. It's worse than a kick in the stomach. Everybody knows that. What do they say? What was that old song? Stones can hurt. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never harm me. But that's not true, right? That's why they had to make the song. Bones can be broken, God forbid, and words can break things that are deeper than the bones. We all know that. Bullying and all that, how kids are affected and adults are affected. So that's very, very normal. Of course I can. What do you mean not take it personally? You say to them, don't take it personally. Of course I take it personally. From a place of bitul, though, what really happens? The confidence is so deep, not because you're arrogant, but because you're in flow. So now when somebody is criticizing me, is right away one question. Is the part of me that's being channeled God, if that's being criticized, then you're really good, you're good. Like if somebody is criticizing your idealism, your truthfulness, your authenticity, it's a compliment. It's a compliment. It's elevating you. It means wow, this is the klipa trying to destroy God's light in the world. So you get even stronger. So so it's not personal. And if somebody is actually pointing out something in which I'm detached, wow, thank you. Thank you for repairing my beautiful, beautiful palace. That's amazing.
I wish everyone I criticized knew this.
Huh? Very good. Very good. Right? This is what it means to live in a place of bitul. And again, it's a very, very deep energetic experience. It's regulated. There's no compare. You never have to compare. You're never comparing yourself to anybody. And somebody really criticizing you, it's really, really fine. I think I told you once this story, yeah? It's a very beautiful story. I saw this on a video. There was a Jew whom I knew. He was Gradat Tzaddik von Ayid. He was a good Jew. Unfortunately, he died very young. He had a lot of health complications from a very young age. A very, very honest person, authentic person. Not Tzaddik Ayid. He was a Rav in a particular community for a while. I once saw a video that he was going by the Liberated Rebbe for dollars. The Rebbe would give dollars Sunday. For hours, people would come, ask a blessing, ask advice, and the Rebbe would give everybody $1 to give to tzedakah. The Rebbe used to say that he heard from his father-in-law that when two Jews meet, When two Jews meet, they should always come out of favor for a third person. So he always gave $1, so you give tzedakah to a third person. So he's walking by, there was a line, and I saw the video of it. I wasn't there physically, but it's not a video that was, I don't think it was publicized. And I see that he's, as on his way to the Rebbe, he's going like this, to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, like this. Actually, I never saw this being done, but the kids in school, they would always go like this, you remember? Like, you're making trouble, you're going to get punished, I'm warning you. Right before the frask came this, when you were still a few yards away, and then came boom. So I'm looking at this, it was so surprising to me. First of all, the Rebbe was double his age or triple his age, besides being the Rebbe. And he comes close, and he's still going like this. And he looks and he says, I am so in English, I am so disappointed with you. With this. And it's very, very, like, it's startling. He's blunt, he's open, much, much younger, and he's a Lubavitcher chassid too. I mean, even anybody coming to an older person saying, like this is strange. But he was officially a Chabad, he was a Chabad chassid. Very authentic, like this. And I don't know what he meant, because he didn't explain. My speculation was that he may have been suffering already from a severe illness, and he was hoping that the Rebbe could get him out of it. I don't know, could be, but I'm not sure, because he didn't say. But I was so curious how the Rebbe is going to respond to this. How do you respond? And it was quite a lot of people there. Also, wasn't private. I am so disappointed with you. And he's making with his finger, like, don't mistake my gesture. This is not external words. And the Rebbe looks at him, and you could see like this earnestness and almost like a childlike curiosity and innocence. And he repeats his words. He says, the Rebbe says, so you're very disappointed with me. He just repeats the words. And then he says, that makes two of us, because I'm also very disappointed with myself. That makes two of us, because I'm also very disappointed with myself. And he gives him $1 and blesses him, and he moves on. That's called responding from a place of complete flow. Internally. First of all, he repeated what he said. So you're very disappointed with me. And then he says, you're in good company. I'm actually very disappointed with myself. Very, very calm, extremely calm, and also very loving, and like there was a childlike innocence and curiosity in the exchange. Now, sometimes somebody says nice words, but internally you could see they're falling apart. Like, you have a chutzpah, you come here, and ver bista b'chol, du shaiter rasha gas ruach behemen kasa. How, you could feel that. The person's not regulated. It's like, it's just in public, I'm not going to say that because I don't want to make believe that my ego is so small that you can get to me, so therefore I'm going to smile to you, but deep down, it's like there's a shaiter behema, who is he? Drop, Baruch Shapatrani, get out of my life, thank God I don't know you. You know what I mean? Which is all very human responses. So the first thing he was telling him is, okay, I'm also disappointed with myself. Wow. You're disappointed with yourself? I thought you were going to defend yourself. I'm not going to defend myself. He didn't defend himself. You think you're disappointed with me? You know how much I'm disappointed with me? But there was also, I think, something deeper. The Rebbe was telling this man, I'm with you. Connection means I'm with you always. Even when you're disappointed with me, I'm with you. You know how you know? Because I'm also disappointed. I'm there with you. It's fine. You don't have to run from me. Yeah, I'm with you there too. We're still connected. So in each of our lives, you can't fake these things. I'm not talking here again the face you show and the words you say. I mean, sometimes, you have to be a gentleman even if you're falling apart inside. But the internal experience of being in this space of flow it's a different space. And again, you cannot forge this, you cannot fake this. This is not about words. It's about an internal state of consciousness where God is working through me, and therefore there's no I that's separate, that you can actually criticize. Because if the I that's separate you're criticizing, I'm actually, wow, thank you. Now I know where I have to do some work. Amazing. Because my real I is in the flow, and I'm very, very safe. But if I never experience that I, my only I is the I that everybody likes and sees as amazing and I see as amazing. You just destroyed me. I'm not going to forgive you so easily. And even if I forgive you because I'm a nice guy, but certainly for the next half an hour, I'm offline. I'm not communicating with you. I'm done. You triggered me seriously and in a very, very horrible way. Like if you would have come to me and tell me how handsome I am and what a nice tie I have and my suit is nice and my shoes are nice and my glasses are nice and I lost weight and I don't know, whatever else you could say, right? And another few compliments. Now didn't trigger me. Now this doesn't mean that when a person who has bitul, you're not allowed to compliment them and give them positive feedback. You like that, yeah? Okay. Disclaimer. You're still allowed to compliment. You're still allowed to say you lost weight. I like your glasses. You're a beautiful person. Whatever it is, we don't take no Din Torah for that. But the question is, does that make me and break me? Or no, it's beautiful. Wow. God, thank you. Yeah. Yeah. How do we start this whole discussion?
I was talking about experience.
Oh. So this, what I'm talking about, is still avazuta. This is still avazuta. This is basic bitul. As we said, bitul doesn't mean you're a crushed pretzel. It means, on the contrary, you're in flow. You're a channel. But this is avazuta. Not but. This is the beauty and the amazing quality of the tainug, elaki, the divine bliss that flows through the person. In bitul, in a state of bitul. And in this Maamar, Alter Rebbe takes it a step further. So when we go a step further, let's not forget the first step. Just like we understand that saying a Maamar about bitul is not a contradiction to bitul. That is what bitul looks like. Bitul doesn't mean you don't exist. Kill yourself. I don't want you. I hate you. Only I exist. You know. Something came into me. Just when we talk about bitul, we have to remember God is also batul. I think we just clinched something. God is also batul. The moment you relate to Hashem as anything outside of bitul, you're not relating to Hashem. You think it's your ego versus his ego. That's the problem. People think that God has the same insecure ego that we have. So it's like me versus him. So like bitul to who? Bitul to you? Bitul to Napoleon? Bitul to Putin? Bitul to whom? Bitul to Louis XIV? Bitul to some Meshuggah king? We think it's bitul to another Metzias, because we turn God into a Metzias, because I'm a Metzias, you must be a Metzias, and that's exactly what idolatry is. Paganism was pitting gods against each other. The god of the wind was fighting with the god of the sun got into a fight with the god of the moon got into a fight with the god of the water, who got into a fight with the goddess of the sun, who got into a fight with the goddess of the earth, who got into a fight with another god, and now the question is which god is going to be stronger today, who took his vitamins, and the sacrifices you got to sacrifice to appease that god. So we graduated from that primitive language, but we did not graduate from the psychological energy of that language. If you're surrendering to a god that is anything besides complete bitul, that's a dangerous god to surrender to. Yeah, you're putting your money into just a stronger guy who you're trying to impress. Chadgadya, yeah. What are we surrendering to? What are we surrendering to? If you're surrendering to anything that's going to manipulate your surrender, don't surrender. People are so afraid of the word surrender. Why? Especially in our crowds. Why? Because what am I going to surrender to? Somebody who's going to take more advantage of me? If you're surrendering to somebody who's going to manipulate your surrender, then don't. Yeah, then be smart and don't surrender. You need a good dosage of self-respect. Real bitul is not undermining self-respect. It's the ultimate self-respect. You respect the self so much that you realize you don't have to hold on to a fake self that's anything outside of Ein Sof. Wow, that's called respect for self. Respect for self means that your self is infinite. That I like. That's self-respect. You taking notes?
He's taking notes.
Self-respect. You respect the self as infinite. That's good self-respect. That's not a self that someone is going to manipulate. So you're surrendering to the source of infinity where there's no metzius, where every metzius is equally valuable and absorbed because there's place for all metzius. In ayin, there's place for all metzius. God doesn't have favorites because I like your nose, I like your bank account, I like how skinny you are. There's no competition. If the moment you're competing with the one you're surrendering to, that's a shtickle of a desire. What are you competing with? The moment that God is not completely on your side and your bliss and your biggest fan in the world, it's the wrong energy. Without this, the chassidus that we learn, or anything that we learn, any svarim that we learn, is experienced through the lens of terrible, terrible self-shame and inadequacy. It's almost like looking to get rid of my shame through another Maamar that's going to help me get rid of my shame. It's like, but essentially it's God going like this to me. And I don't know how to respond, like, I'm with you, you know. It's like he's walking around like this, and maybe if I learn more or I daven more, he'll stop going like this, and I'll say, okay, you're good for a few minutes until you get on my nerves tomorrow. That energetic flow is missing. So in this state, there is that very, very, very deep calmness. It's not a desperate urgency, it's a calmness. But that takes a lot of surrender of all the voices that want to say, don't be calm, you idiot. You are a disappointment. Sure, your God is working through you. God is not working through you. You're a tamadik, a contaminated shtik tumah, nevela. God is not working through you. He doesn't work through nevelas. Tzimtzum kipshutai is you. Einoid malvadoi, everywhere besides in you. We say Ein Oid Mulvad. There's nothing outside of him. Does that include your space or no? Ein Oid Mulvad besides you. You're somehow outside of the equation. He's everything and everybody, but not you. How does that work exactly? Tell me. You understand why the moment you experience Ein Oid Mulvad and it comes with self-shame, it's not Ein Oid Mulvad, it's idolatry. You're saying, no, God does not exist in me. I am the exception. I'm the exception of the rule. What you're really saying is Ein Oid Milvadi. You heard what I said? That's what you're saying. Ein Oid Milvadi, there's nothing outside of me. Of course I'm ashamed. That's why you're ashamed. The moment you'll know Ein Oid Milvadi, you'll stop being ashamed. Doesn't mean I didn't make mistakes. It doesn't mean I don't have to do tshuva. It doesn't mean people are afraid that if you say that God is working through you, it's like everybody's going to become Napoleon and a narcissist. It's the exact opposite. It means that all of my narcissistic qualities I can let go of. There's no use for them. It's just a torturous holding on to a self that doesn't really exist, and I'm trying to give it existence through investing in a stock that never existed, doesn't exist, never will exist, and will give me no returns besides endless torture and anxiety. Huh? They could be. And even if it's going to give me a return for a few minutes of pleasure, it all fades away. It all fades away. Hashem Elokim Emes. Anything that's outside of a Likus is going to fade away because it never had a Metzias. Its Metzias is only, it looks like a Metzias. That's it. It's a commercial. It looks good. It looks good. The Alter Rebbe compares it in a Maamar to znus. It's an affair. What's an affair? It looks good. That's what he says in a Maamar. Literally, he calls it a znus. It's an affair. What's an affair? It looks good. Ba'aloischa. He uses the word znus. It's not a relationship. It looks good. That's its power. And sometimes people give everything up for that. They give everything up for that. They give up their children, their family, because it looks good. People do things, they end up in prison for 20, 30 years because it looked good. That's it looked good. And maybe for a few days it was good, and maybe for a few years it was good. But essentially, I was investing, I'm not talking about innocent people. I'm talking about people who make the mistake of losing their souls because it looks good. So this is the basic definition of what we mean about bitul. But
I actually understood why Rabbi said that
Nu say, Zog.
because he was in a state of bitul, and the only way he can share that state with us if he give us enough das, so we integrate it, so we can be in the superposition of bitul.
Yeah.
Because without das, you cannot be in that position at all.
What do you mean without das you can't be in that position?
The keter and das in the superposition. Unless
Yeah.
you have das, you cannot even go
Yeah.
to the state
Yeah.
of bitul.
That's
That's why he probably
bitul always necessitates das. Always. Bitul must have das, yeah. Acharei l'adam das. It's the first bracha of Shemoneh Esrei. After the three of praise, the first bracha is Acharei l'adam das. Chaneni mitcha chachma bina v'das. Whatever the different nuschah is. But the common denominator is everybody asks for das. And there's a reason for that. Because das is lashon hiskashrus v'eschabros. V'adam yada es chava. Adam knew chava. He was intimate with chava. Das is that the knowledge is not just up here in the brain, it's embodied, it's integrated, it becomes visceral. I know how to relate it to my nervous system, and that's the bridge between the mind and the body, and that's what embodies this truth. I can't be in a state of bitul if I'm only in my mind. That's not what bitul is. I may have a beautiful idea of bitul, but the moment you trigger me, I'm done. The only way to be in a state of bitul is by I embody it, and the only way I can embody it is through the medium of das, which is relating it to my space. I could learn these Maamarim for 100 years, and it's beautiful and it's a gavaldik inyan, but if there's no das, ultimately when push comes to shove and you push the wrong button, either I explode, and if I'm more sophisticated, I implode. But even if I implode, in a way imploding is worse than exploding because you carry it inside and nobody realizes what a mess you are. But you're walking around as an implosive hot air balloon that's about to boom. You know a hot air balloon? So this is the basic chemistry of what bitul looks like. So you're going to say, saying a Maamar is a contradiction to bitul? No. You're a mouthpiece. You're the mouthpiece. That's what you were created for. In this Maamar, the Alter Rebbe teaches us and shares with us that the human being is capable of even more than that. Not just to be able to remain intact as a mouthpiece, as a channel, which is in itself quite incredible and quite profound, but to surrender any form of separateness and reach a state of an internal yearning for alignment that is completely one, to the point that you don't even use the word alignment because there's no separateness whatsoever, to the point that you can go back to that space of oneness like it was before creation, so to speak. How was it before creation? Before creation, it was obvious that Einoid Mulvada. So even now, post-creation, when you're talking to somebody who is separate, l'chayda, and that's why this whole thing is an avodah, that's the whole idea of creation. Right? This Maamar is not saying there was no creation. There was creation. And in that space of creation, which means in that space where I want you, where God is experiencing you, because if I wouldn't want you, I didn't have to create a world, right? The whole Bereshis is I want you. The whole Matan Torah means something I want from you. Like the whole idea of Judaism is I want you. There's something about you that I want. Whatever that is, but there's something about you that I want. God is somehow excited about me. Trying to figure out why, but he's apparently excited about me.
For you, I understand. For me, it's exciting.
What a compliment I just got. I'm good. My balloon is good. It's intact. The hot air balloon is good. You know, there's a beautiful word from the Baal Shem Tov. It's Shivisi Hashem lenegdi samid. Right? Hashem lenegdi samid. So it means I place God before me always. He says the word Shivisi comes from the word Shava, Hishtavos. When Hashem lenegdi samid, Shivisi, a compliment and criticism are exactly b'shava. It's exactly the same. Somebody telling me how unbelievably powerful, great I am is exactly the same as the opposite. Why? But this is the Indian, because it's Hashem L'Negdi Summit. How could you say that? When it's Hashem L'Negdi Summit, again on a very deep energetic level, the compliment, if it was genuine, was to God. And if it was not to God, it's like, okay, so that needs healing. So in that space, it's a place of Shivisi. So it's a very, very regulated, it's extremely regulated space.
So if you were in flow, maybe I could be also in flow and therefore can give a proper compliment as well. It's not this.
I told you last time that the compliments go to the Alter Rebbe.
Okay,
And if you would tell that to the Alter Rebbe, he would say, do me a favor, talk to God. Compliments go to God.
I have to agree to Alter Rebbe. When I was with Alter Rebbe for one-on-one, I didn't get in the flow. Only for you. That's why I have to be more.
Okay, Baruch Hashem, we were zoicha to be channels. We should always have the schus to be a channel. So Tana Toiva Yidin. I just got distracted. What was I just saying? That's fine. What were we just saying right before this? Oh, Shivisi. The Baal Shem Tov said that. Shivisi Hashem L'Negdi Samad. It's in the beginning of Tzavas HaRivash. In other words, everything is equal. Why is everything equal? Not because you're numb, but because you're in such a regulated state that if you throw something at me, it's not going to overwhelm me and destroy me. Comes this Maamar, and Alter Rebbe teaches that in this itself there's even a deeper state, that this oneness that existed before creation, where it's not that you existed absorbing the divine reality, but rather there was no you at all. That state of existence continues even after creation, because that's how God experiences you. God experiences you from completely within, like in his womb, the drop in the ocean, where there's no chashivas to it of anything outside of Hashem. And when the person is in that space, so then there's not even a self as a channel, because the very word self is a compromise of the true oneness, of the true emes. And this is really what the soul is looking for. The soul is looking for ultimate attachment, where the attachment is so real and so genuine and so powerful that you can't even talk about the fact that I am attached. And the way it comes out in a person's avodah is that the person doesn't have to figure things out. This is what real surrender means. You don't have to figure things out. Yeah, in a practical way, sometimes a person experiences in life, especially it could be with family or other things, certain struggles and challenges. And if you try to put it into the framework of understanding, even spiritual understanding, it can become very, very complicated and very, very disorienting, and also very, very painful and agonizing and traumatizing and so forth. Because life really offers curveballs that we don't have a reference point from. I don't have a framework to put it in. In this space, I don't need any framework. Why don't I need any framework? Because even in Gan Eden, there's a framework. There's a framework of very deep spiritual bliss. Here it's a complete surrender, where the person does not have to figure anything out. Not because they're dumb and not because they're naive, because it's such a deep space of oneness. No, it's not giving up at all. Actually, it creates much more creativity. I show up the way God needs me to show up, but there's completely no separateness.
It's not that you don't have to figure it out. He trusts you to figure it out.
Yeah. So now we come back, So now when we ask the question, how are you saying a Maamar? If it's l'shtava, begufa de malka, bitul b'metzius, there's no yoshim v'nenim eziv hashchina. When we say no yoshim v'nenim eziv hashchina, we're not negating that Alter Rebbe is sitting and saying a Maamar, and we're learning it and listening to it. Hopefully listening to it. So l'chayra we're sitting, right now we're sitting. V'nenim eziv hashchina. Real bitul b'metzius doesn't negate any metzius. God experiencing you doesn't mean that you have to be standing, not sitting. He's fine if you're sitting also. But it's not yoshvin v'nenin. The yoshvin is also einoid. The yoshvin is also bitul b'metzius. There's no nekuda of separateness. And because there's no nekuda of separateness, so therefore there's no metzius that has to be negated. It's not like a metzius has to be negated, because then there's a metzius outside of him. What we're negating is anything that's separate. Even the separateness, so to speak, what we're calling separate, that's also one. That's the ultimate being in flow. Being in flow to the point that we're not talking about being in flow with a you that's experiencing it, because in that space, complete Ein Sof. And that becomes the real definition of you. And if that's really, really true, what does it look like? It could look like anything. It has to look like that you're silent. Maybe it could look like you're talking. Why are words any less Ein Sof than silence? Why is sitting less Ein Sof than standing? Depends where it's coming from. If it's coming from the need that I want to experience it, Ein Echanami. That's alignment, but it's alignment that's called Avazut. I'm choosing the tuffle. And ultimately, as blissful as it is, there's a pain over there. Why is there a pain over there? Because the true yearning for attachment is complete dveikus. I want the full emes. And in that full emes of almanas shaloi lekabel pras, I don't want a pras. I want atzmos. What do you mean I want? You said if it's atzmos, it's not going to be I. That's the real I of the person. By the way, I should just tell you that Tzemach Tzedek was at this Maamar, the grandson of the Alter Rebbe. This Maamar, he doesn't have a date, but Tzemach Tzedek in Derech Mitzvah Secha, he has a sefer, he has a section called Sherish Mitzvah Tefillah. And over there, middle of the Maamar, he writes that he wants to explain the two types of love based on Pi Masha Shamana, what we heard from my Zayda, from my grandfather, at the wedding of my brother-in-law and my first cousin, Reb Nachum, the son of the Likkutei Rebbe. The Tzemach Tzedek was the Likkutei Rebbe was the Alter Rebbe's son. And the Tzemach Tzedek was the Alter Rebbe's grandson. So the Likkutei Rebbe was his uncle. Tzemach Tzedek's mother was his sister, Dvei Leah. So the Likkutei Rebbe was his uncle. But then he married a daughter of the Likkutei Rebbe. So the Likkutei Rebbe was also his father-in-law, Rebbe Tzechaya Mushka. So when he took over the Likkutei Rebbe as the third Chabad Rebbe, he was succeeding his uncle, but also his father-in-law. And he was a grandson of the Alter Rebbe. So Reb Nachum, the Likkutei Rebbe's son, was both his first cousin, their parents were siblings, and also his brother-in-law, because he married Reb Nachum's sister. So he writes in that Maamar, what we heard by the wedding of Ben Doidi V'Gisi, my first cousin and my brother-in-law, Reb Nachum, the son of the Likkutei Rebbe, Chayr of Tavkuf Ayin Bais, the winter of 1811, the beginning of 1812 or the end of 1811, on the pasuk Sos Tasis. So this whole Maamar was said at a wedding of Reb Nachum, and the Tzemach Tzedek, that's how we know the date, because Tzemach Tzedek writes it. And he explains this whole Maamar that we're talking about, the two types of love. The first love of Gan Eden, the V'imcha, I want with you, but I don't want you. Because if I want you, is kaplish macher. And then there's the Avarabba. And then to illustrate it, the Tzemach Tzedek in parentheses says the famous story, but the source of this story is in this Maamar. Tzemach Tzedek says, V'kach haya nishma, mi'meirenu v'rabbeinu be'ez dveikusai. And this is what we used to hear from our teacher, from the Alter Rebbe, when he was in Dveikus. We used to hear from him, and he gives that line, Mili b'shamayim v'imcha lechafatzti ba'aretz. Ich will nicht dein Olam Haze, ich will nicht dein Olam Haba, ich will nicht dein Gan Eden Elyon, ich will nicht dein Gan Eden Tachten, ich will mehr nicht als dich allein. I don't want your Olam Haze, I don't want your Olam Haba, I don't want your Gan Eden, all I want is you yourself. So the Tzemach Tzedek says, that experience he describes to illustrate this Nekuda and this Maamar. That's, by the way, the source of that whole vart is that Tzemach Tzedek saying it to illustrate this Maamar, how the Alter Rebbe lived in his Dveikus. What does it mean, I don't want your Olam Haba? Why not? Why don't you want your Olam Haba? Well, you're rejecting God's Olam Haba, was willst du? The pshat is because even Olam Haba, yeah, it could be a distraction. A beautiful distraction, a holy distraction, a blissful distraction, pun intended, really blissful, but it's still a distraction because it's not dich alein. And I want you. So now I want to ask you a question. So where's the Alter Rebbe? He's not an Olam Haba. What do these souls get? If you don't want Olam Haba, so where do you end up?
He was in that state.
The answer is, Atzmus is an Olam Haba also. It's just I don't want Olam Haba as a distraction from you.
You said it in this world, but after you went out.
I'm saying dichalein is dichalein. It's reality. It's the reality.
Happening now too.
It's reality. That's what I want, and that's where I'm going to be. And if that's where I want, that's where I'm going to be. I'm not settling for anything else. Everything else is not the reality. So when you say he doesn't want Olam Haba, it's not like Olam Haba is like God says, okay, Olam Haba exists outside of me. Olam Haba is any Olam Haba is just a term. Any perception of anything outside of Atzmus, I don't want that. As a separateness, exactly. As a tuffle, I don't want the tuffle, I want you. What? So you say, I want you. What do you mean, I want you? If it's you, it's not I. That's the whole vart. I want you can only be Gan Eden. You can want Gan Eden. How can you want Atzmus? So you have to say this is the vart, that this is the real I. That's why I'm saying you can't experience this if you don't understand what the greatness of the I. This is what the I. When you say, I want Atzmus, it's like a joke what you say. You're just saying that you want something in which there's no I. So what do you mean, I want Atzmus? It's like, I want you, but this you means there's no I. So this is the real I. The real I is complete Ein Sof. And when you could let go of any other I besides this I, then you realize that this is the only thing you want. You don't want anything else. What does that look like? You're a zombie? No, it doesn't look like you're a zombie. If it has to look like you're a zombie, it has nothing to do with this Maamar. In fact, I'm going to say something interesting, and that is, in this state, you could sometimes look more separate than anybody else. Because you're not afraid of anything, because there's no separateness. You understood what I just said above Ram? In this, in this state, you could look more separate than anybody else. More creative, more independent, more firm, because there's no contradiction. There's nothing outside. Is God allowed to be independent? Yeah, so you're allowed to be independent. There's no separateness. When you're a complete nothing but Him, so then everything is Him. So when the Alter Rebbe is saying the Maamar, Atzmus is speaking through Him. I only see a person who's saying a Maamar. Yeah, I see with my eyes. I reduce it to my reality. The whole world is like that. We see what we're capable of seeing. The tension of self and Ein Sof is a tension only from the perspective of self. From the perspective of Ein Sof, it's not a tension. So the moment you experience the self from Ein Sof, I don't care what your self looks like, and I don't care where your self is. It's all Ein Sof. It's God's experience of you, and that's how you're experiencing yourself. So to another person, you could look completely separate, but in the emes, there's no separateness. You can go to places that other people can't go, because God is going to those places. That's the deepest form of bitul, of shlichus. Shluchah shel adam k'moisei mamish. Just like literally, when you're going as a shliach, you can go to places that other people don't go, because you're not going as your own. You're going as a shliach, so it's k'moisei, so it's like he's going. So in this space of complete achdus, he's doing it all. So we're not afraid of you saying a Maamar. Of course you should say a Maamar. Shchina medaberes mitach grayne, like it says by Moshe. But the surrender of this is a surrender that requires tremendous das, the das chazak. Not to be boicher the tafel, but to be boicher the ikr. Because from the perspective of self, this is the ultimate surrender. And there's situations in life that invite us to these places. Instead of resisting them, we can welcome them with tremendous serenity and even gratitude. Yeah. Sometimes I was in Tveria some time ago. There was a conference. There's an organization called Godleinu. It's like Kesher Nafshi in America. They try to help parents who are struggling with children. So this was a conference for a Shabbaton, a Shabbos, for very, very, very religious families, from like ultra Acharei in Israel of the Litvish and Chassidish community. Extremely, like very, a lot of even from Meir Sha'arim and Kiyas Sefer and B'nai Brak, extremely entrenched in an environment of extremely frum. But they have children struggling. So it was quite an intense Shabbos. Intense in a good way. It was a beautiful Shabbos. But I remember before Shabbos there were questions and answers. So a Yid stood up and I forgot exactly what his question was. It was, but it was something of the nature that how he has a daughter, who went on her own path, and how it literally destroyed the entire image of this person. Image and neighbors and family and perspective and experience and relationships and their standing in the community. It really completely overwhelmed everything. And how can he not have anger and be very resentful to this person, to this child, who really upended this entire mishpacha? There's so much resentment and so much, you caused us so much pain. It's a good question. That was such a human question.
That's what he needed to go to let it go his ego.
And he was genuine. It wasn't like, he was asking a real question. It was an authentic question. It was a painful question. Like, here's a child who came. Fine, he says, she has her struggles and our whole family. It's a shame in the family. I guess, she walks around in that neighborhood the way she walks around. And what it does, it's like just all the eyebrows. And what does everybody say? What type of parents does she have? What do they do in that house? What are they smoking? What are they drinking? What did they put into the Kool-Aid? And it's all, in some of the communities, the social pressure, I don't have to tell you, is so powerful. It's like everybody has to make sure to fit into the other person's world. Some communities, it's very, very strong and powerful. And here, you're trying so hard. Like for 50 years, you didn't say a thing you thought in shul not to trigger anybody. Because everybody agrees with everybody else and has the same level of intense faith. And suddenly here, boom. And it was there was a electrifying silence in the room. Those moments, electrifying silence. Because it was a question on a lot of people's minds. They could see he was the mouthpiece. So there was a panel of rabbis, and I was chosen to give the answer. My mazel. And so I'm sitting there, and I'm like, and what am I supposed to tell this Yid that's real, that's genuine? And what am I supposed to tell her? And this I'm telling you, Metzias, this was God's grace. The Maamar, this idea popped into my head. It popped into my head. It wasn't Parshas Tazria. It was, I think, last year. I don't remember which parsha. Maybe winter or before Pesach, I think it was. But it just popped into my head. And the story that the Tzemach Tzedek says, what he used to hear from his Zayda during Dveikus. And then I turned to this Jew and I said, the pain is real and genuine and authentic. And I'm not here to minimize it or rationalize it or justify it. I empathize fully with you. I get it. I just want to say something. And I'm just sharing with you. And if it resonates, beautiful. And if not, it makes sense too. And I told them this word, Mili Bashamayim, and what Alter Rebbe used to say during davening, and the two types of love, the love of dveikus, where I want to be connected, and the love where I don't even have to be there to be connected, because I really want to be connected. And I said, what a gift your daughter is giving you. What a gift your daughter is giving you. You can actually open yourself up to this type of relationship with Hashem. You can actually say, I'm not working for any spiritual satisfaction. First of all, not for the community, not for social conformity, not for social, but even not for spiritual satisfaction. Spiritual bliss of my house is a Gan Eden. My house is a Beis HaMikdash. My Shabbos table is my Ein Olam Haba. My Ein Olam Haba. No, your Shabbos table is my Ein Gehenim. My Ein Gehenim. But you know what? Your Shabbos table doesn't have to have Olam Haba. Your Shabbos table can have Atzmos. Your Shabbos table can have Atzmos. And you know what Atzmos looks like? Doesn't necessarily look like Olam Haba. It could look very, very different. It could look like saying, God, I'm just a channel to be able to be a channel for your infinite love to this child. But, there's no but. But what's going to happen? But what are they going to say? But Tzanit Shabbos, and what about Ka'ech Soif? And what about Kol Mekadosh? And what about Menucha V'Simcha? What's going to be with Menucha V'Simcha? And Basar, Matamim, Dogim, Meyayin Olam Haba. We're going to go higher than Olam Haba. So what does that look like? I said, it looks like complete bitul. It's a gift where you could surrender everything, including all expectations, and completely be a channel and say, what does Hashem want from me right now as a father of this daughter? Boom. And I said, and you know how liberating that is? The funny thing is that the bliss over there is deeper than the bliss anywhere else. But you're not looking for bliss. It's not your tainug, it's God's tainug. You hear the chiluk? Gan Eden is your tainug. It's gewaldik. It's a tainug eliki. But it's the way you can absorb God, which is what makes it so blissful. There's no bliss in the world like experiencing God. There's no bliss in the world. And this is coming from a person who likes cheesecake and likes other forms of tainug. But there's no tainug in the world that's the tainug of Elokus. Because any tainug that exists in the world, the only part of it that's blissful is the part of God that it's expressing. You heard what I said? You go to a beautiful beach, you go to a beautiful vacation. If there's any nekuda of tainug that's genuine that you're experiencing, it's the light of Hashem in the water. There's no other tainug in the world. It could be a substitute, it could be fake, it could be a derivative. But that's all your tainug. That's your tainug. My house is Gan Eden. My house is Olam Haba. My house. My dining room. My Shabbos. And now your daughter is giving you a gift. And the gift is
to turn your Gehenna into Gan Eden.
To go to a place that's higher than Gan Eden. So maybe you say, but this is a Gehenna. It's a Gehenna from your perspective. But Atzmus is in Gehenna. He's not afraid of Gehenna. It's a Gehenna because of the tension of expectation. It's Gehenna because you're not living up to what I need in order for my own spirituality. And I'm not knocking it. I'm not knocking people's spiritual expectations. We all have expectations and ambitions. And I don't mean chas v'shalom to knock it. But it's a gift to be able to surrender even that and say it doesn't have to look like anything. What does it have to look like? Exactly what it looks like. How do I know? Because that's what it looks like. How do you know it has to look like what it looks like? I'll prove it to you because that's what it looks like. That's why it has to look like what it looks like. But it could have been otherwise. I don't know. Could have, should have. That's all cheshbonos of mitzias. If Einoid Mulvade Mamash, so this exact is the reality. This is it. And you are in that reality. And you could be a full channel of that reality and show up from that space. So I told him, I said, the reason the Tzemach Tzedek publicized this, the Rebbe used to say this, was he was teaching that this is connected to every Jew. Now you say, really? When I daven, I don't say what the Alter Rebbe says, I'm going to this dveikus. But the fact that the Alter Rebbe is teaching the Maamar means that it's connected to every person. In their way, in their life. It's not to start thinking that we're what we're not. That's not the point. The point is, on the contrary, to be very genuine about it. But that this nikud applies to every person's life. And then it's not like there's no bliss. It's not like you're a robot, you're a zombie, you're just a depressed father who okay, destroy my family and I'm done. No! You're actually the happiest in the world. You know why? Because it's not your happiness, it's God's happiness. Do you know what that bliss is like? When you're going to be there at that table with that girl, connecting to her on her terms, there's going to be tainug. But you know whose tainug it's going to be? It's going to be Hashem's tainug. And that's much deeper even than Gan Eden. Gan Eden is my tainug. Here it's not mine. You know why? I could have never figured this out. I didn't create this girl. I didn't create this crisis. This has nothing to do with me. You know what it has to do with? It has to do with Hashem. So surrender everything and become a channel for Hashem's bliss. And over here, you're not busy with anybody. You're not busy with community. You're not busy with impressing. You're not busy with not impressing. You're not angry. You're not angry. It's the deepest regulated state. You're not comparing. And again, this is not about words. This is an energetic shift of consciousness where you surrender everything. And you don't become a zombie. You actually become infinity itself. I'm just applying this. I want to make this practical, what it means in Avodas Hashem. So Al David, I surrender. And I said, this gift you would have never had without this daughter. And who knows if your daughter did not have Mesiras Nefesh. Your daughter has probably I asked, your daughter is a sensitive spiritual soul? As always, the answer is the most spiritual in my house. Usually these kids are the most spiritual, most sensitive, right? Which means that there's something unique going on. It's not just, they're gluttonous, brute, lowlifes. It's usually the most sensitive, most spiritual. So I said, maybe your daughter had Mesiras Nefesh. Her soul agreed to go down to such lowly places that will rattle everybody, just to be able to allow all of you the gift of experiencing Hashem for the first time in your life. So when you look at her, you'll be able to say, wow, thank you for giving me Yiddishkeit. Maybe you never had Yiddishkeit before. I don't mean you didn't have Yiddishkeit on any level. You were frum, you were Oved Hashem, Me'ein Elam Haba, all's good. But you didn't have Yiddishkeit. This came in, as he asked this question, this came into my head. This was not me. And we can't say this just to make ourselves feel good, because that's going to make it much worse. Either you feel it, either you get it inside your bones, or you don't get it. And if somebody doesn't get it, I don't judge them at all. I also usually don't get it. This is as real as it gets. There's nothing more real than this. This is a different space. It's not the space of human experience. It's the space of experiencing yourself and your mission every moment in life the way God experiences it. But this is stripped from every last level of ego, even the most spiritual form of ego. And it's trusting how deep the dveikus is, the oneness is at every moment, to the point that I don't have to be there to tell the story and to shep nachas. I don't have to be there to shep nachas. Let God shep nachas. And He is. How do I know? Because this is it. It's the ultimate liberation. This is the ultimate liberation. Huh? There's also a lot of just unbelievable gratitude here. Nobody owes me anything. It's not like you owe me, like we made a deal, we made a contract, I'm going to pay you, you owe me, right? You don't owe me anything. I'm here to serve, and to serve in a way of the ultimate service where I don't even have to say that I'm serving. The need that I need to say that I'm serving is just the need of separateness. The moment you realize you're not separate, you don't have a need. And if you don't have a need, you could finally do the work. That's what Mashiach looks like. You can do the work. You don't have needs. It's not like quid pro quo. I'll do this, you do this. You don't have the need anymore. You could serve. You can actually serve. You can actually be the light. As long as I have needs, I'm like separating myself. Like I'll do this, but I need this and I need this. When you realize who you are, you realize you don't have needs. If you don't have needs, so you can actually show up. You can show up in life. You can actually show up. Oh man. There's always the clip of the Nefesh HaBahamis inside, not always, but sometimes, that like doesn't stop speaking this stupidity, driving people crazy. It's like there's that inner voice, and it's just a little scared puppy. That's what it really is. It's a scared puppy. You have to acknowledge it. And its best way is, I used to have this a lot, the voice inside of me after I would speak about these things would say, you don't even believe what you're saying. You're a hippie, you don't even believe what you're saying. It's a very sophisticated way of hijacking. Because it doesn't say, it attacks the truth, you understand? Like I told you before, you want to get Jews, you tell them they're not compassionate. There's a hijacker that says, go eat, go do something wrong, but the biggest hijacker is, you're not authentic. Instead, so it uses idealism to destroy. Yeah, you're a phony. You're a phony, and you're using abstract concepts to camouflage that. Like, why don't you just talk about giving tzedakah and smiling to people, and that's much better. You know what I mean? Just tell people when you see somebody say good morning and smile and be a mensch and have a karas hatov. Have a karas hatov. When somebody passes you a tissue box, say thank you. And when somebody does you a favor, call them before Yom Kippur to say thank you. And maybe say a story about somebody doing that, and that's good. Take people to the moon, and that's not enough. So we're going to go to Mars, and that's also not enough. So we're going to go to the sun, that's not enough. We're going to go to the black hole, and it's still not enough. Until we're going to get out of space. And then we'll all be happy because we'll be French toast before that already. Was willst du vermenschen? Right, so that voice, I'm just giving an example, it's the crippling hijacker that will always come to, undermine. This, because the surrender is constant, it's constant. Mi samcha leish. It's just a brilliant way of the animal soul klippa, which exists. It exists because it never got the memo of this Maamar. In other words, really it doesn't exist. But in its own world, it never learned the Maamar, or even if it learned it, it was ADHDing during the Maamar, because it was busy surviving. It didn't integrate it. It's afraid. There's a fear here. So that's part of the avoid of talking to all parts of ourselves and calming them down and saying, Nish Gedaige, don't worry, God is the source of life. You're not the little puppy, you don't have to be afraid. You're not going to a place where you're going to be tortured. You're going to a place where everything comes from. That's for the Nefesh HaBahamis. For the Nefesh HaLekiz doesn't have to hear that. You're going to a place where everything comes from. Because the Nefesh HaLekiz is not looking for the place where it comes from. It's looking to the place where that is everything. I don't have to come from there. It's already there. That is the place. I don't have to come from there. Okay, everybody have a beautiful, beautiful, meaningful day.